Imagine uncovering a vault hidden beneath the Kremlin, its iron doors creaking open to reveal sacks of gold coins stamped with Stalin's signature. Whispers swirl that the Soviet supreme leader siphoned fortunes into secret offshore trusts, like a political 007 laundering treasure under Cold War shadows. Tonight, we chase those rumors through declassified cables, spy reports, and redacted ledgers. What dark secrets lie buried in Stalin's private ledgers? Stick around. This is just the opening shot. When Joseph Stalin rose to power in the 1920s, the USSR was a patchwork of state-run banks, centralized trade ministries, and shadowy export bureaus. Picture Moscow as a chessboard. Every pawn, rook, and knight moved under Stalin's watchful eye. On one side, you had Gosbank, the state bank, handling official ruble flows. On the other, Comintern agents funneling foreign currencies through clandestine channels. It's like a high-stakes poker game where the dealer controls the deck. Key figures emerge: Lazar Kaganovich, Stalin's loyal deputy overseeing economic planning; Nikolai Yezhov, head of the secret police rumored to have ears in every vault; and Dmitry Manwilsky, a Comintern fixer who arranged pricey Soviet art deals in Paris. They all played roles in this financial theater, sometimes as players, sometimes as unwitting props. Here's a rhetorical question. Could a man who preached from each according to his ability silently hoard gold for his own bombastic banquets? The Soviet system thrived on secrecy, hedge arbitrage via bribed foreign banks, offshore trusts created in Warsaw banking fronts, and discreet bribery and money laundering disguised as grain purchases. These terms might sound complex, but imagine stashing cash in a Swiss safety deposit box under a false identity. Only here, the identity is CCCP, Ministry of Agriculture, and the box is a hidden ledger entry. By 1945, whispers of a Treasury black hole began. Crates of priceless Fabergé eggs reappearing in New York auctions, bullion shipments vanishing en route to Moscow docks, and cryptic cables to U.S. intelligence hinting at secret accounts. Let's set the stage for our deep dive into these shadows. Because when the world thought Stalin lived frugally in the Kremlin, someone else was feasting on ruble-stamped gold. Let's start with the first clue, the mysterious account. In 1937, a ledger from Gosbank surfaced, its pages yellowed, ink smudged, listing a clandestine K243 account encoded under the guise of industrial equipment procurement. Who could imagine that line-hiding gold bullion transferred from Baku refineries? Picture a cramped back room in Moscow, a lone clerk whispering the transaction codes, his hand trembling as he writes 500 kilograms of pure gold next to innocent-sounding entries. A lighthearted complaint? Sure. Who names an illicit gold stash after a tractor part? It's like calling a Ferrari Farm Implement 9. But that's the Soviet way, camouflage. Now the second clue, the international informant. In 1942, a British agent codenamed Sparrowhawk sent an encrypted dispatch from Tehran to MI6 headquarters. The message mentioned a shipment of 10 tons of gold leaving Abadan under medical aid supplies paperwork. Imagine crates stamped Red Cross rolling onto a Persian Gulf freighter, while hidden beneath lay bullion bars destined for safe houses in Oslo and Geneva. The informant risked his life spying on Soviet oil pipelines. He spoke of secret hedge arbitrage operations where Soviet officials swapped gold for dollars at a premium, then smuggled those greenbacks back to Moscow via shell companies in neutral countries. If you're thinking, wait, why not just use dollars openly? That's the point. Explain hedge arbitrage as using price differences to profit, or in this case, to disguise where the money comes from. Every detail tightens the noose, a single telegram intercepted, a coded reference to drill bits mapping to bullion movement. Next up, the third clue, the sudden disappearance of funds. In early 1947, the Soviet Treasury's balance sheet showed a peculiar gap. 2 million rubles evaporated overnight. Accountants scrambled to reconcile records. Auditors joked that even Stalin's ghost might be holding a pen. But the truth was darker. Funds rerouted through an offshore trust registered under a fake Peruvian consortium. Picture financial maneuvering as a game of three-card Monte. Three bank drafts in New York, London, and Buenos Aires, magically converging in a Swiss clearinghouse, then vanishing into numbered accounts. That offshore trust term might sound tax-friendly, but here it meant a shell company used to launder money. No Swiss banker asking questions because the payoffs were too juicy. A rhetorical question surfaces. Did Stalin's regime think they were the only con artists in town? Spoiler, the Allies knew. Moving on to the fourth clue, conflicting spy reports. The CIA's Venona decrypts, think of them as Soviet-era email dumps, revealed communications between NKVD officers and their counterparts in Vienna. One message mentioned 88 crates of precious metals moved through the Danube River corridor. That's enough gold to fill a railroad car. Now visualize a nighttime rendezvous on the banks of the Danube. Men in long coats exchanging wooden crates under the glare of floodlights, unaware that Allied satellites were mapping shipping routes. Each crate boasted an internal code, F11 for gold coins, F12 for emerald-studded artifacts. A humorous aside, who codes emeralds as F12? Sounds like a discount smartphone. But those emeralds, likely looted from czarist palaces, reappeared in London auction houses in 1952, fetching princely sums. This stage-by-stage revelation keeps us perched on edge, asking, what's the next bombshell? Finally, the fifth clue, internal party memos. In 1953, a slim dossier from the Central Committee surfaced, marked top secret. It described a covert meeting between Stalin's daughter Svetlana and a Swiss banker in Zurich. According to an insider, Svetlana handed over a small satchel rumored to contain antique Fabergé miniature eggs. Not trinkets, but valued at millions. Picture a discreet hotel suite, thick drapes drawn as two figures exchange objects, her face hidden behind a fur collar. That satchel wasn't just a gift. It was a down payment on a trust fund for Stalin's lineage. The dossier mentioned bribery and money laundering networks spanning Warsaw to Luxembourg, with nods to French art dealers complicit in auctioning Soviet heirlooms. Now the suspense peaks. Each clue intertwines, forming a spiderweb of deceit that leads straight to the Kremlin's heart. You can almost feel the cold marble floors, hear the echo of hushed footsteps, and taste the metallic tang of hidden riches. And that's where we pause, wanting to know how it all culminates. Here's the breakthrough. In 1956, a trove of declassified cables hit the archives, exposing a ledger titled Personal Stabilization Account J. Stalin. This document laid out a complex web of transactions. Gold bars funneled through the Belgrade Central Bank, converted into Swiss francs, then channeled into French art purchases. Picture a dizzying swirl of numbers and codes, each entry more incriminating than the last. First, let's decode the offshore trust mechanism. The ledger lists a Geneva-based shell company, Société Anonyme du Levant, tasked with holding gold reserves. That's the formal term, but let's be clear, this trust was a money laundering machine. Money laundering, simply put, means taking dirty funds, here gold smuggled under wartime cover, and making them appear clean by cycling through legitimate transactions. Think of it like running spilled ink through a water filter and expecting clear water on the other side. Funny, right? Except these filters cost millions in bribes. Now consider the role of hedge arbitrage, using price discrepancies to gain profit. The ledger shows Stalin's henchmen bought gold in Baku at Soviet set prices, then sold it in Zurich at a 20% premium before converting proceeds into US Treasury bonds. Imagine buying grapes at a farmer's market for $1 per pound, then instantly selling them at a New York grocer for $2. Sounds simple? That's hedge arbitrage, except you're moving tons of gold, not grapes, while dodging international sanctions. The suspense builds. Each arbitrage transaction lined Stalin's private coffers. Next twist, a surprise witness. In 1963, a former NKVD courier defected to MI6 and brought a black leather folder. Inside were invoices showing payments to top Soviet officials disguised as agricultural development fees. Picture a grain shipment that's actually a courier of gold. This courier identified names, Vyacheslav Molotov, discreetly raking in 50,000 rubles monthly. He wasn't inspecting tractors. He was approving shipments of Krugerrand coins. Here's a rhetorical question. Did Molotov really think no one would notice? Spoiler, the courier's testimony cracked the case. But there's more. A 1972 FOIA release from the CIA unveiled an internal memo stating that the CIA's Berlin office intercepted KGB radio chatter about transferring rare artifacts to Monaco. These artifacts turned out to be Fabergé eggs and Tsarist jewelry, items impossible to forge, each piece bearing the imperial hallmark. Picture a jeweler's loupe confirming authenticity, then realizing these trinkets financed Stalin's posthumous legacy fund. The KGB codenamed it Operation Opulent Swan, a cheeky nod to luxury. Finally, let's confront the elephant in the room. The moral gray area. Stalin's regime claimed the gold was state property, used for industrialization. Yet here we see personal enrichment under the guise of state necessity. Imagine a CEO siphoning company funds for a lavish home, then calling it operational expenses. That contradiction cuts deeper than a diamond's edge. The ledger entries, spy reports, the defectors' accounts, and auction house records converge, revealing a staggering truth. Stalin wasn't just a Cold War warrior. He was a clandestine tycoon with a private empire. So there you have it, the secret flow of wealth between Stalin's inner circle and global financial conduits. The climax unfolds not with a dramatic showdown in Red Square, but through the quiet unspooling of ink on yellowed pages. Pages that expose how one man's grasp for power extended into vaults across continents. So, what does Stalin's secret fortune teach us today? First, it underscores the dangers of unchecked power and the seductive lure of hidden wealth. When leaders manipulate offshore trusts and hedge arbitrage to amass personal fortunes, they erode trust in institutions. Just as modern investors might question the integrity of companies that hide liabilities through creative accounting. Consider this. If an empire's top official can cloak gold bullion as medical aid supplies, how many corporate CFOs are hiding red flags behind buzzwords like special purpose vehicles? Second, there's a lesson in transparency. The world only pieced together Stalin's covert empire because courageous defectors and meticulous auditors pushed for declassified records. In today's markets, whistleblowers play a similar role, spotting money laundering schemes disguised as charitable donations or insider trading masked by dark pools. Ask yourself, are you confident in your financial advisors, or are you merely following a trail of smoke and mirrors? Finally, remember that financial intrigue isn't limited to Cold War capitals. It's alive in every corner of the global economy. Next time you see a CEO suddenly retiring with a massive golden parachute, ask, where did that money really come from? How transparent is the company's Treasury account? In the end, this saga challenges us to scrutinize power, whether wielded by political titans or boardroom executives, and to demand accountability. If we remain vigilant, we can curb the kind of treasury black holes that swallowed billions in Stalin's era and might still be swallowing billions in ours. Before we sign off, ponder this. What hidden clues lie buried in today's financial disclosures? And if you had access to declassified memos, what scandal would you unearth? Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this deep dive into Cold War conspiracy and financial intrigue, make sure to subscribe, hit that like button, and drop a comment letting us know which mystery you want to explore next. See you in the next video.